Good evening, everybody. My name is Michael Schenkel. I am the chair of ANC2C, and I'd like to welcome you to our October 12th ANC meeting. I was just commenting a few moments ago that I cannot believe that we are in October at this point, but we are. I would I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. And I would also like to introduce our fellow commissioner on the line, Gigi Nelson from 2C03, Elizabeth Minsky from 2C02 is a little under the weather today and is not able to join us. She did want me to inform you, though, that she was not suffering from COVID. Just to put it out there. I told her that I was going to do the exact opposite with that. But I would like to take the opportunity to review tonight's agenda with you. It is a little bit of, we wanted to do our community updates at the beginning of the meeting, in which we'll hear from the mayor's office, Ward 2, Councilmember Pinto's office, MPD 1, MPD 2. We will also be discussing the local trot for hunger, which is on November 25th. We will have a presentation by DDOT regarding the H Street Northwest bus priority projects and their concepts. We'll be reviewing a sign proposal related to the new establishment of Chipotle, which will be coming on 7th Street. And we will have two other discussions related to school bias in DC and a brief discussion related to Gotley Simon's retirement, who was the executive director of the ANCs. Are there any other items that should be added to the agenda this evening or removed?
So moved.
Oh, you're moving to accept the agenda as is?
Yes.
Okay. I have a motion to do that. I will give a second to that. All of those in favor, show of hands. Okay. Two commissioners voting in favor of the agenda this evening. Commissioner Nelson, have you had the opportunity to review the August and September minutes?
Yes, I have. The only question that I had was on the September minutes. I wasn't sure of the name of the person who delivered the report for MPD. It was listed as George, and I'm not even sure how to say the last name. Or George may not have even been the first name, but the last name started with a D. It was like Don Durigen or something. And I wasn't completely certain that was the correct name of that person.
Yeah, I can. It's Donigan, Donigian.
Okay, so that I think that's how it was spelled. So that is correct. So I'm good.
Yeah. Awesome. That is how it's spelled.
Okay.
Exactly.
It's spelled Donigian, but it's pronounced Donigan.
Okay, I think that was what I was confused about. Thank you, Jonathan.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I would like to move that we accept both the August and September 2021 minutes. And
Second. Sorry.
And all those in favor? Terrific. So 2 of 2 commissioners voting in favor of the minutes. The treasurer's report.
Okay, so for this month, or actually from last month, so the opening balance for September was $57,873.39. There were 2 transactions in September. The first was a disbursement in the amount of $175 for the minutes. And then the second was actually an allotment to us in the amount of $1,821.05. So that was a change, or the total combined was $1,646.05. And that left us with a closing balance at the end of September for $59,520.44.
Terrific. And we are still missing one allotment, is that correct?
It actually came in today.
Oh, it came in today.
As
Terrific.
of yesterday, it was pending, so it said that it was supposed to clear today.
Got it. So then we are
We're up to date.
up to date at this point. So at our next meeting, we will file quarter 4
Yes.
report. Got it.
I wasn't sure if we were supposed to add the disbursement from today since it's in October and it didn't happen last quarter.
Nope.
So
I think what you did was perfectly fine.
okay. All right. I've got that report ready and I'll get it to you guys in a couple days.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right.
Do we have Joe Florio on the line with us?
Hi, good evening,
you.
everyone.
There
Hi.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, my name is Joe Florio. I am Mayor Bowser's liaison to Ward 2, specifically ANC2C. I do have a few updates tonight. Today, Mayor Bowser and DDOT announced that there will be an immediate acceleration for safety improvement projects that will better protect pedestrians, as new reforms that will streamline and kind of speed up the completion for safety projects. So all this is surrounding Vision Zero projects specifically. Starting now and continuing annually, DDOT will target 100 intersections that are within the district's high crash and high injury corridors. And this is similar to the 2021 summer safety campaign. And then progress on these specific projects will be published on a dashboard on DDOT's website. I don't believe that has been activated yet, so I will be sure to follow up with the commission about that website if anyone's interested in learning more on DDOT's progress on this. Streeteries will be extended, the program for it, until February 28th, 2022, and applicants for streeteries don't need to take any action. DDOT, I believe, already has extended those and has updated the permits. DDOT's currently restructuring the streetery program to be more of a regulated program rather than a reactive from when we entered the pandemic. So that should be coming up, I believe, next year. And then just a reminder that you can test yourself against COVID, and you can pick up a test yourself kit at the Martin Luther King Jr. Library. It's free tests, so just walk in the front door and pick one up there. So I think I gave that at the last meeting, but I want to say it's still ongoing and you can still get your test there. I did want to touch base on some updates from DPW. I know some members of the community had a meeting with the mayor about maybe 3 or so weeks ago about the alleyway between 5th and 6th Street above H in Commissioner Schenkel's district. DPW has been the lead on any sanitation issues that may come in that alleyway. And I know that there's been a lot. And just a couple updates. There was installation of no dumping, illegal dumping, and no loitering signs and no drinking signs that have come up in the alleyway. And also there's presence of a camera that is just observing the use of the alleyway. We're trying to really crack down on illegal dumping and, having other people dump trash into dumpsters where it doesn't belong, which causes a huge trash issue back there. I know that the Department of Health is baiting and continues to bait for rodents and the food service division at the Department of Health conducted door-to-door inspection to the surrounding businesses on the 21st of September and the 24th of September. And then that may be the most of my updates for DPW. I did stop by there earlier today. I was in the neighborhood, so I did flag a couple issues I saw back there for DPW, but I know that they're taking a more specific interests and more specific kind of to-do list for that alley. And I'm aware that there was one building owner that owns 3 buildings that I believe 2 are on H and 1 may be on 6th. And they were fined by DPW, and a judge was able to determine that they are liable for the public space and the upkeep of public space surrounding the properties. So I know that DPW is taking an active role at making sure people are in compliance because sanitation is a huge issue. That's all the updates I have at the moment, and I'm happy to turn it back to the commissioner, and I will drop my contact in the chat. If there's not anything I can't answer, I'm happy to look at some emails and respond.
Terrific. Thank you so very much, Joe, for that update. And I know that we have been, Joe, I have to commend you for keeping your eye on this and really, helping residents navigate this process. It has been a frustrating process, I know. As we have started communications regarding this way back, in January of this year. Even before then, we were talking about this alleyway. So we appreciate that dedication, and I do want to commend everybody who was on the meeting on October 20th with the mayor, so that we could articulate some of the safety concerns that we were observing there as well. Do we have any other questions for the mayor's office?
I think I saw Doug.
Yeah, sorry, I might have missed.
Yes.
Was there an update on the Alleypalooza status as well, or response from DHS on some of the questions pertaining to just enforcement of behavior around the block, sort of in line with the judge's decision that you just talked about from DPW?
The DPW is mostly focused, that is more so focusing on property owners that are maybe restaurants or other entities that happen to be sharing the alleyway. So they're trying to make sure that the lot in the back of the businesses in the alley is clean, and in front of the alley is clean, and making sure that there's proper maintenance. So that didn't really have anything to do with the shelter. I believe, it's still, this is still true that, the DHS and the security team there is really only responsible for things that happen inside the shelter. I know that they said that they would have security kind of look at the surrounding, like just the immediate perimeter of the shelter. That also includes the partial of the alley. The rest is, I believe, an MPD issue, and I know that MPD is on the meeting tonight, so maybe they can elaborate when we get to their section. And then on, I believe the alley was the other point that you brought up, Doug. I don't want to bring anything up tonight because I don't have any specifics, but I'm still talking with DDOT about that, and I hope to give some updates. I know that in general, that the ask was to kind of resurface the alley. I want to definitely be upfront and say that the issues that we see with the sanitation, I think, go hand in hand. I would hate to have a brand new alley kind of go into disrepair because bad actors aren't, changing their behavior. I would want to see this alley be a solid alleyway for years to come. So that's why I'm so, paying attention to the DPW issues back there and getting a response from DPW on hey, what's new this week? What have you done? Get a kind of a good checklist going. So that way, when we get to the alleyway discussion, that way I feel a little bit more comfortable of saying, I feel folks are, moving in the right direction with sanitation. So that's where I am with all those points that you brought up, Doug.
Thank you. Just sorry. Specifically, I know this is outside of the DPW and DDOT purview, but a lot of the audience with the mayor was focused on the question of just do the homeless have a place to go to the bathroom? And this is a question we've been asking for about 6 months. I'm wondering, did DHS ever get back to the mayor's office or respond with a possible solution, whether that be an outhouse in front or some sort of relaxation of Pat Handy policies with respect to entry? Any feedback on that topic?
I've not gotten feedback directly on the points that you listed there. What I do know is that separately there is a working group that is deciding, that ultimately they will decide to put in public restrooms across the city and high traffic areas. And these are public restrooms that are meant for everyone. So it's tourists, locals, folks who just happen to be in the area, also unhoused individuals who may need to use the restroom. And so I believe that they may be entering some sort of phase where they're looking at installing a public restroom that would be maintained by the city. So I know, I believe, Penn Quarter, Chinatown and Gallery Place was a location that may be of interest. And so I know that's coming up, and I've been communicating with DMHHS, who is above DHS. So I think that's in a good direction, and that's actually a good solution, if they have a location downtown that they can identify when they're done with that process. So I think that ultimately we want to get to that point where we have a formal public restroom instead of maybe an outhouse or something else like that. But to go back to your point, Doug, I'm happy to check in with DHS to see if I may have missed something on that and report back.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just close by saying that I also commend your efforts. I'm so glad to have an ally like you in the community. While our constituents agree that that's a good long-term direction, I would just again ask the city for some manner of triage in between, because that could take, I don't know, months, years, who knows. But thank you, and I'll close there.
Great. Thank you very much. And I will say that the public bathroom discussion, I believe it was a year and a half, not at least a year and a half ago, we provided recommendations on potential locations for restrooms, this public restroom in 2C. No location was, finalized, and any progress moving forward with that plan would come back to the ANC for our comment and public comment as well. So I just wanted to alert people that while that is in progress, that will be coming back to us at some point for discussion. Mr. Kloster.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. While we're talking about this location, and I think it's relevant to this discussion, there are two establishments on the corner of 5th and H Northwest that have been under construction for more than 2 years. They're on either side of the street, on the east and the west side of the street. One is a burger place and the other is a bar. And it just seems to me somewhat imponderable that the district whoever is in charge of permitting these constructions can allow these efforts to go on indefinitely, and that adds to the blight of the neighborhood and the sense that there's no one there who really cares, which I think is part of this discussion that we're having right now. So can anyone tell me or how this works so that once anyone applies for a construction permit, you pay a couple bucks and you get started, and then you have no obligation whatsoever to finish? That's what it appears like. So I don't know if you have an answer, anyone, or if we can find out.
How long do you have tonight to discuss the CRA process? So I personally, I haven't heard, other than I know a burger place is coming at 5th and H, and it does seem that they do work at that location just by being walking by. I haven't heard of the owners having any difficulty getting through the process. Doesn't mean that they're not working through it, but I'm happy to reach out to them to see if they're hitting any snags with their permitting process and the construction process so they can open. But
well, I'd appreciate it if you would, but it just seems to me like there's no incentive or there's no pressure coming from anywhere for anyone to finish these jobs. I don't necessarily know that they're having permitting problems, but there seems to be, they seem to have free license to take as long as they want, which adds to the blight of the neighborhood that we don't need. So whatever you can find out would be most welcome.
Right. I'll also follow up on that because I think that's a really important discussion to have. It is my understanding, and I could be wrong on this, but it is my understanding that if somebody gets a building permit, they have 1 year in order to do the work. However, if they do work in that year, they get an extra year in that process, which makes no sense to me either. But that is something that I've heard, and I see in the chat that the Liberator location may have had financing challenges associated with that. But I'll find out, and we'll bring that back to our next meeting.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you. Terrific. Any additional questions, Commissioner Nelson? Sorry.
That's okay.
On the spot.
That's okay. No, I don't have any questions, but I do want to just say a huge thank you to Joe. I know you work really hard to keep us informed and to stay on top of these issues. And I know that we're not your only ANC, so we appreciate all the work that you're doing.
Thank you very much. Happy to do it.
Yeah. I did want to say that tomorrow I am going to be doing a walk with Joe around the neighborhood. If you have locations that you want us to drop by, please put those in the chat box. And we will put those on our list. I have a number of places that Joe and I are going to be roaming around looking at based on previous comments. So thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Awesome. And now let's move on to Councilmember Pinto's office. And I believe Victoria is going to be presenting tonight with us. Hi, Victoria.
Hi all. Brian had another engagement this evening, so I am joining you for the night. It's great to meet and see all of you. We'll just get right into the updates. So first off, thank you so much to all of the folks who have joined us for our recent community events, including the office hours that we held a few weeks ago at the MLK Library and our second annual telephone town hall. We've heard good reports about the town hall and we're really how it went. We are back in the full swing of the legislative session with lots of hearings and meetings. And we held our first legislative meeting this last week. Some of the highlights include the passage of the Protecting Our Children Emergency Amendment Act of 2021. And this act expanded virtual learning options to students whose doctors recommend they learn virtually or students who have a high-risk person in their home. We do note that this does not apply to students who are eligible for the vaccine. It also puts in place more testing requirements and requiring DCPS to hit a 20% testing rate. And it further requires schools to notify families if there is a positive case in their child's classroom. The council also extended the foreclosure moratorium to February 4th, 2022, as it was initially set to expire on November 5th. Next, the Ward 2 specific redistricting hearing will take place on Monday, October 25th at 2 p.m. We'll hold a citywide hearing on Friday, November 5th at 12 p.m. I'll put some additional links into the chat in just a moment. Councilmember Pinto also advocated for the mayor to extend the ticket amnesty program a couple weeks back, and we are very thankful that the mayor did agree to extend the program to the end of this year. So as a reminder, you can pay any outstanding tickets from any time without the late fees. And I'll also post this link in the chat. The new fiscal year began on October 1st, which is very exciting. So we're working with district agencies to get clear timelines for Ward 2 projects that were funded in the budget. And then just a reminder that yesterday was Indigenous Peoples Day, and as such, the DPW trash and recycling collection will slide to the next day for the rest of the week. And finally, just a reminder to get your flu shot at your local pharmacy or doctor's office. And as Joe mentioned, to look into getting a COVID vaccine booster shot and also to get tested. So I can put that link in the chat as well. So if there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer them or refer them to other folks in our office to get you a more robust answer.
Victoria, did you say that that there was legislation that public schools have to notify when there is a COVID case in the classroom?
Yes, I can get you more specifics on this, but part of the act was to require that the schools notify families if there's a positive case within their child's classroom. Is that your question?
Got it. Yeah, that was the question. And is that something that is going through the process to become law, or is something that has been pushed into regulation now?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that this is for present action. So,
okay, gotcha.
Now, report.
So moving forward, there'll be another hearing on this, and they'll vote as a council before this would go into be enacted, or it is enacted now. I'm sorry, you broke up on me.
I'm also new, so I don't want to speak out of
okay.
But I'm pretty sure that this was passed, so therefore this is in action.
Yeah. Yeah, I see it in the box there as well, that someone put that in there. So thank you for that. I think that on our last meeting, we heard from parents and the school board representative, and that was a concern of students not being notified and parents not being notified, that it was the other parents in the classroom that find out and then that have done the notification. So this is good. Thank you for that. Terrific. Commissioner Nelson, do you have any questions for the council member's office?
No, thank you, Victoria.
Thanks so much, and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Terrific. Next, we'll move on to MPD 1, Captain Duro.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. To give a kind of an overview of where we are stats-wise, we are still seeing an increase in stolen autos. That's crept up again for your ANC area. Mainly the hop-end stolen autos is what we've been combating citywide for the last, I don't know, I think it's been a year plus now. But folks are still leaving their cars running as they're going into businesses, checking into hotels, et cetera. So as you know, in your area, you have quite a few carry out businesses and restaurants that do delivery and hotels, et cetera. So it seems we're seeing an uptick again. We had 2 in one night a couple of nights ago. So it's something we've done quite a bit of work on to try to get the word out, talk to the businesses, ticket cars, we'll continue to do that. But as long as folks leave their cars running, I think we'll continue to see, unfortunately, some of this at least. Other than that, property crime in general is up slightly. We're talking about theft from autos and kind of petty theft from stores, that kind of stuff. We're about 3-4 cases a month over where we were last year, but we're still well below where we were pre-pandemic. As you know, last year with the pandemic, things were really shut down, so those crimes really declined significantly. So I think, while the numbers are up over last year, they're still looking pretty good when it comes to that. Violent crime, we are running fairly flat, so about the same numbers as we saw last year, which again are historical lows for us. 40, 50, 60% lower from where we were 5, 6, 7 years ago. So I did want to talk about one specific incident, which was a shooting that occurred at 6th and H. It was early Sunday morning, so Saturday night into Sunday, about 2:30 in the morning, where 3 individuals fired numerous shots into a vehicle that was occupied by 3 victims. Luckily, no one was hit in that, by the grace of God. But we're still investigating that case. I can't really give you much as far as, specifically who's involved or who the victims were. It does seem to be very targeted. I will say that in our investigation, and this is something I wanted to actually ask the commissioners about, we discovered that there was a nightclub running out of 609 H Street Northwest called Club 202. And I couldn't really find much on it except that there was, I believe, a shawarma place, Afghani restaurant that was scheduled to open there. So I need to do a little more follow-up. But as part of our investigation, we discovered this. A couple nights ago, we went in with our Chinatown unit and with ABRA, and they shut the place down for licensing issues. So we'll see how that continues. I think they are planning to operate again next weekend. I don't think they're properly licensed to operate as a nightclub, but that's something we're working on. So that's the general overview. Be happy to answer any questions.
Yes, that's very interesting you bring that up, because I saw that on my walk through the neighborhood on Saturday or Sunday, and I was like, what is this? Club 202. And I sent Abra an email because I couldn't find anything on it either. And the shawarma restaurant was the upstairs establishment, I believe, there. But it has not opened to my knowledge.
Yeah, I don't know myself. I've been on days off, so we'll have to do some more investigating. But my sense is that there's no one allowed to operate there as a nightclub, and especially the crowd that they're attracting is one that we would want to monitor and have some security plans in place for. So, to be continued. I'll call upon you if I need you, sir.
You got it. I know that the shooting incident has brought a lot of concern, as we have had some numerous concerns of residents in the area. And please do keep us abreast that if there are arrests that are made in that case, just to let us know that is occurring, because I know that gun violence kind of across the city is elevated as well. I also understand that there's been a number of stabbings or reported stabbings in the H Street area, like between 400 and 600 blocks. And I wanted to know if you had any comments on that as well.
Yeah, I was just talking to the Father De La Rosa offline about that, because we don't have any actually reports taken for stabbings in the area in the last month. There have been a few incidents involving subjects kind of in mutual fights where they receive cut wounds, but they're not super cooperative. So I think we've taken assault reports in some of those cases, and maybe injured person to hospital reports where they aren't, where we cannot establish probable cause that a crime occurred, basically. So those are unfortunate incidents. They are involving the community, which I think has been of concern here, related to the homeless community. They're not all homeless, I don't think, but that part of that crowd that's also involved in the narcotics trade and et cetera, et cetera. So, so there have been a few incidents, unfortunately, but no one was seriously injured, and we haven't taken any actual reports for stabbings.
Got it. And is the narcotics unit still focused in the Chinatown area?
They are. And I think we discussed this last time, or I've discussed it before, I should say, is that, due to our manpower shortages, we're really struggling to keep them on task, basically, and prevent them from getting pulled on for other things that are just happening throughout the day, every day, and shortages in other places. So it's something I've been discussing with the commander, and we kind of have a plan is pending, let me say that, to allow them to focus more on what we task them, we detail them to do. But they are still there. They're still working, so they are still out there, and I know they're still making arrests. I know they had some arrests the other day, so yeah, they are still out there.
Got it. Thank you very much. And I see that Mr. Black has his hand raised.
Yes, I have several questions now. I had one for Mr. Durup. So as far as the club that's in question there, is it your understanding they aren't a nightclub? Because I assumed this was the place I was asking that was looking for the permit last year.
I think they're operating as a nightclub, but they're not licensed to do so, is my understanding.
And has there been contact with any owners there, or what's been the conversation as far as because I've seen the activity in the area, but I just thought that, there was a new club and that things were discussed already.
I do not believe anything's been discussed. Yeah, I don't know what else to tell you as far as the ownership and whatnot. Like I said, I'm coming off days off, so I have not been privy to that information. As far as licensing, ABRA is the lead on that, the lead agency, so they'd really be the ones to take the lead on it. We will, of course, assist when criminal matters arise, which have now arisen, so we will be involved.
Yeah, I'm concerned about that, and what you said about the homeless community. So, what evidence do we have to present to the community to really say that these are homeless persons engaging in a narcotics trade? Is there any clear documentation that could be provided with the notes from this meeting?
I don't believe I stated that, so no, I wouldn't be providing that. There's been a few, like I said, fights, phrase assaults that people in that, members of that community have been involved in, and the narcotics trade is very much tied to that community in the area. I'm not saying that they're the dealers at all. I would say more that, obviously many of them have substance abuse issues, unfortunately, and that there's folks taking advantage of that.
Well, the only other thing that I would say is just a comment, and it was that I remember when we was having the back and forth about Pat Handy Legacy, I did offer my services in trying to do teach-in series about, hey, how you been, about homelessness, and to acclimate people to Homeward DC 1.0, and also to start to educate people about what's in Homeward DC 2.0. So that offer still stands. They can be done outside of the ANC public meeting. I think that would be a better forum where we can really get a deep dive into it. So I just want to make sure that people, understand those services are still available on behalf of myself and the group that I represent, which is Focus, Attitude, Commitment to Excellence. We are a grassroots empowerment group housed within Street Sense Media.
Thank you very much, Mr. Black. Appreciate that. Any other questions or concerns for Captain Doro? Awesome. Thank you so much, Captain. We appreciate you. and your team.
Thank you. It's mutual.
Awesome. Have a great night. And do we have anybody from MPT2 on with us? I always feel like I give MPD2 Captain Darrow has the zesty presentation, and I feel like MPD2 comes along and said, yeah, what he says. But we do appreciate their update. We definitely do. Awesome.
I have their stats up if there's any questions that you have for them, but I think it would be pretty much the same as far as general.
Yeah. I know that there has been some heightened activity around H&M recently. I have seen numerous, I don't know if there have been grabs, grab and runs or what, but I know that there's been numerous police cars there regularly. But I don't know if I have nothing else at this point. We'll move on to local events that impact our community. Is Brett Curtis with us this evening? Or someone from the local Trot for Hunger? Okay. This is an event that is going to be coming up on. I'll just share my screen here. That are going to be coming up on November 25th. It is a 5K. It's a 1 miler and a full 5K that begins at Freedom Plaza on the corner of 13th Northwest and Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest. And it pretty much follows the same course outline that has been proposed for the city. There's music, games, and live entertainment that are going to occur. Registration starts at 7 a.m. I believe that setup will start at 2 or 3 a.m. That evening on Freedom Plaza. And it will conclude by noon on that day. And this raises funds for hunger in the area to address hunger issues and food insecurities. Is there, and I'd like to, any questions regarding that? It's going to be closing, just show you the routes, which is a great graphic here, I must admit. The routes follow Pennsylvania from Freedom Plaza, starting at 13th, and Pennsylvania goes down to 3rd Street and then to Independence, and they do a turnaround, come back on 4th Street and D to 3rd, and then they repeat and come back in the opposite direction on Pennsylvania. I know this is right before our next meeting, or right after our next meeting, and I would like to ask if there's any questions or concerns about the event from the community. Go ahead, Mr. Black. I'll attempt to answer.
Yes, I believe most of the street closures are within single member district 2C01, which would be yours.
Correct.
And how do you see? I don't know what the hours of the event are, but how are these closures going to affect the ingress and egress of 1313 New York Avenue, the day center for our unhoused residents in the area?
Great question. This should not impact access as far as any transportation or drop-off locations that would be occurring. This is typically the route that is taken 4 or 5Ks in the area. It does not, let me just make sure here before I misspeak here, it does not interfere it does not interfere with the it actually would interfere with the 9th Street tunnel on that day. So that would be one limitation of that process, that it would be intersecting with that. This is the approved course by the city.
And do you know how long it will be? Because I know most of them in the morning. I don't know if this is a late afternoon or morning one.
No, it would start in the morning and will be concluded by noon.
Okay, so it may not affect some of our evening scheduled transports, but I do have a concern about those who are accessing on-demand transport, probably seeking sheltering services during the event. Do you also have which metro lines will be affected as well? I'm pretty sure I would assume the 36 and the P6 will be affected.
I do not know that. That's a great question. They, I believe, come up 7th Street.
I know the P6 comes down toward 11th.
Oh, toward 11th. Okay.
Over the 9th. I know the 32, the 36. They also have to cross over 9th.
Mm-hmm. So those bus routes would be rerouted for this event.
And WMATA hasn't put out the detour schedule yet?
No, they have not. Not to my knowledge.
That is disappointing, because every time we have those, and I go to ask my commissioners, that WMATA is just, they put it out the day of, and then when I'm riding in the area, I don't know where the detour is.
Gotcha.
So, I definitely would like to see more notification in advance of significant street closures like this. We get it for big events like an inauguration, or if there's a organic demonstration through Alerts DC, but when there's something pre-planned, I'm just very disappointed in the notification that WMATA gives to residents regarding these detours.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Understandable. And what we can do is we can ask the Mayor's Task Force and ask WMATA to provide that information when events like this come up on how things will be rerouted. We can attempt to do that. They're not always responsive with that, but we can certainly do that.
The only other thing I would suggest you ask is, are any of the adjacent stations going to be closed? I know sometimes they also close an adjacent station, which probably would affect at least Archives and maybe Federal Triangle.
Yes, we can ask those questions as well. I would like to move that we send a letter of support for the Trot for Hunger. Sorry.
Okay. Second.
All those in favor? So 2 of 2 commissioners voting in favor. I would now like to turn it over to Springworth, who is going to, hi there, going to give a presentation on the H Street Northwest Bus Priority Project.
Hi, thank you so much, Michael. Commissioner, my name is Springworth. I am the project manager, as you mentioned, for the H Street Northwest Bus Priority Project. And I am accompanied by Jamie Ernst. Jamie, do you want to introduce yourself? Oh, you're on mute.
I think you're still on mute.
Yeah. I think she's on mute, but you can see her. So Jamie Ernst is a transportation planner at DDOT, and she's helping with public outreach for this project. And thank you for joining, Jamie. Sorry about it. There's always like technical glitches this far into the game. So I have some slides. First, I'm going to put the project website before I forget. It's in the chat. So you can take a look at that. And I'm going to share my screen. Let's see, it's not popping up here. I'm going to share my screen with the PowerPoint. Hopefully, yes, else, nope, basic. For some reason, that's not coming up as an option, but. Nope.
Do you have the PowerPoint open?
I do have it open. Yeah, I do have the PowerPoint open, and it also is on the website. So let's see. Oh, show all windows. There we go. Maybe that will work. Okay. All right, here we go. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay, so hopefully you can see that, and I'll start from the beginning.
We can see it.
Okay, so this is the H Street Northwest Bus Priority Project. I first want to give a brief overview of the bus priority program. We came to your meeting, Megan Kanegi, who was the prior project manager, back in May, and I accompanied her, and she gave an in-depth overview of the bus priority program and what we're trying to do to improve bus service all over the district. And I'll give you a quick overview of that, and then how the H Street project fits into that, what we're trying to do on H Street. So transportation equity is something that we're trying to achieve all across the district. DDOT now has a transportation equity statement, and we want to make sure that transportation justly benefits all residents in all 8 wards. And we're investing in our transit facilities throughout the district to make those improvements. We really want people to be able to get to their destinations within a 30-minute ride. And the areas in light purple in this map that we're really trying to improve those rides to their destinations within like the dark purple. So we're really trying to improve our transit facilities. Part of DC's long-range planning is we're trying to get most of commute trips, 75%, by non-auto modes within the next 10 years. So we want more people traveling by transit, by bus, by walking, by biking. And in order to make that possible, we're trying to improve the facilities and infrastructure so that it's easier for people to take the bus or to walk or to bike. And part of our bus priority vision, as I mentioned before, is to improve bus service all over the district, not just in one particular ward, but in all 8 wards, and to improve bus speeds and reliability. And we know that disproportionately, Metro bus riders are low income and people of color. And we really want to improve the experience for everybody. And we're looking at doing that through pedestrian improvements, bus lanes, which you've probably seen in the district on Georgia Avenue, H&I, right in front of our office on M Street Southeast. We also have bus lanes. And we're also making infrastructure improvements on the roadway through transit signal priority to give buses more green time at intersections, and also queue jumps, which gives buses the green light at an intersection before other modes of traffic. All right, so the H Street Northwest Bus Priority Project. So what are we trying to achieve? So the H Street, we're looking on H Street between 14th Street and North Capitol, which is a little over a mile. It's 1.25 miles to be exact. Currently, there are bus lanes on H Street from 14th Street to Pennsylvania Avenue, which is approximately a half a mile. And so this project would be an extension of the bus lanes that are already on H Street. So from 14th to North Cap. And currently there's a lot of buses that travel down H Street, and there are also trucks that travel down H Street. And there's a lot of on-street loading and pickup and drop-off demand because of the restaurants that are along this corridor, along with the hotels. So our goals of this project are transit, safety, and access. We're really trying to improve bus speeds and reliability. We hear from people all the time that the bus travels really slowly or it's not reliable. And that is the objective of this project, is really to improve the speeds and reliability and improve pedestrians' access to transit. And we're also looking at improving safety for not just bus riders, but for all modes of traffic, all users on H Street. And we also want to improve access needs for everyone, because we know that curbside access is really critical along the H Street corridor. So this is the H Street corridor. As I mentioned, we're looking at 14th Street to North Capitol. This is one of our higher ridership corridors. In 2019, we had approximately 35,000 average daily riders that were using this corridor. And even during COVID, the X2 and X9 had the third highest ridership. There were a lot of essential bus riders who were taking the X2 and X9 all throughout the pandemic. But one thing that they've shared with us, and we also see through our data, is that the buses are traveling slowly. And they're not just traveling slowly during the AM and PM peak, but really all day, even during the midday. The buses are going really slowly. So part of this project is to improve those bus speeds and the reliability on H Street. So this here, what we're trying to show here is that the X2 bus speeds, as you can see, the red line is going westbound. So as if you were heading in the direction of Foggy Bottom. And then the blue line is eastbound going towards like Union Station or Ward 7. And really what we're showing is that like, no matter what time you go during the day, the bus is traveling pretty slowly. So during the AM peak, midday, PM peak, the bus is going like at best like 6 miles per hour. So it's just crawling along. And then this, what we're trying to show here is that in the areas that you see dark red, which is a lot of it, or red, the bus is pretty much crawling. Rather it's, going westbound in the AM or eastbound during the PM, the bus is crawling in those intersections where you see dark red or light red. It's definitely below 9 miles per hour, and in many areas below 6 miles per hour. So what's our anticipated timeline for this project? So as I mentioned, we came out in May to let you know that this project was happening, and we took a look at the corridor to figure out what exactly is on H Street. And we did our existing conditions and needs assessment. And then this past summer, we looked at how we could improve the corridor and meet our goals, and we developed some concepts. And then now we have developed our recommended concept, some build options that I'm going to present. And we hope to begin design this fall. We've been reaching out we went to ANC2C last week, and we're here tonight. And we're also meeting with a lot of the stakeholders along the corridor. And then this winter, we hope to begin design, and in the spring, summer of next year, begin construction along the corridor. So what are we planning on H Street? So H Street. So as I mentioned before, H Street is, this project corridor is from 14th Street to North Capitol, and it has 4 different segments. And what I mean by that is that the road changes based on what segment you're in. So from 14th Street to 13th Street, there's 4 lanes of traffic. And then from 13th Street, the segment 2, from 13th Street to 4th Street, there's 6 lanes of traffic, 3 eastbound, 3 westbound. And then there's 2 other segments. There's a segment between 4th Street and New Jersey Avenue by I-395. And just to let you know, just to give you a heads up, we are not recommending putting in any bus lanes in this segment. In this map here, it just shows the red line is the direction that the bus travels going eastbound, so heading towards like the direction of Union Station. And then the blue line is the way that the bus travels going westbound, heading towards like Foggy Bottom Gallery Place. But we're not planning on making any changes there with a bus lane. And then the 4th segment is from New Jersey Avenue to North Capitol, and there's 6 lanes of traffic, 3 eastbound, 3 westbound. So one option that we have is to do nothing at all. It's called our no build option. We would make minimal changes on the corridor. Maybe we would look at bus stop rebalancing, which would mean consolidating some of the bus stops to help improve the bus speeds along the corridor. But if we went with a no build, we would not be meeting our project goals, which are improving transit, safety, and access. But that is an option, the no build. Option 2 is our selected build option. So this is what we are recommending or proposing for the corridor. Where you see the red, pinkish, dark pink is where we would put curbside bus lanes. So we are recommending putting in curbside bus lanes on H Street between 14th and North Capitol. And the bus lanes would be in operation during the peak periods only. So from 7 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. and 4 to 6:30 p.m. This would have minimal to no impact on parking because parking is not permitted currently during the peak hour. So during the rush period, you're not allowed to park on H Street in the AM rush or the PM rush. So this wouldn't have any impact on parking. In those 6 lane segments that I just went through, segment 2 and segment 4, we would be reducing the lanes from 6 lanes to 5 lanes to accommodate the bus lane. However, there are 2 segments along the corridor near Gallery Place Metro Station, so from like 6th to 9th Street, and also near the Walmart on North Capitol to 3rd Street, where we would keep 6 lanes of traffic to help with traffic operations and also pedestrian flow. So at the 7th and H Street intersection, we have the Barn Stance, just near the Walgreens and the Gallery Place, I think it's Walgreens. And the Gallery Place Metro Station, you can cross the street diagonally. And just to keep that operation happening and also to help with traffic going through, we would keep 6 lanes. But essentially, we would have curbside bus lanes that would have minimal impact on parking, and they would be in operation during the peak period. And by introducing this, bus riders would see about a 15% improvement in their bus travel times, which meets our project goals. And they would see like a couple of minutes of a difference in their bus ride as a result. In addition to this, we are also working in coordination with WMATA on bus stop rebalancing, which is essentially consolidating a lot of the stops along the corridor so that the bus could travel faster. We also would introduce or install a queue jump, and a queue jump is a signal that gives buses priority at the intersection. So the bus can go through before other modes of traffic. And we would put that in at westbound at H and New Jersey Avenue. So in that segment, that discontinuous segment that I mentioned that we're not going to put bus lanes in near I-395, we would put in a signal there to help the buses get the green light before the other modes of traffic so they can move through quicker. We do have queue jumps in other areas in the district. We have one at 16th and U Street going northbound, and 16th and Irving going eastbound. There is a queue jump. So they are in existence in other locations. We're also plan to make mid-block pedestrian improvements on H Street between 4th and 5th near GAO's building. We did consider other options, but we're not recommending them for advancement due to the safety and operational concerns, but I would like to share those with you. So option 3 was full-time offset, as I mentioned earlier, that the buses are traveling solely all day long. So we looked at options where we could have bus lanes all day, like from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. to really meet the need of the buses along the corridor. We also know that parking is really valued on the H Street corridor. So we looked at what can we do to put in parking and also have the bus lane. So one of the issues, so this was an option, putting in a bus lane adjacent to parking. So having parking on the curbside and then having the bus lane next to it. By introducing this, we would have substandard bus lanes. The bus lanes would not be wide enough, so it would not meet the standards. Also, because we'd only have one lane of traffic going in each direction without having a left turn pocket, cars would be backed up for a really long time. The queuing, there would be more than 1 mile of queuing in the eastbound direction and more than 2 miles of queuing in the westbound direction. So because of that, and also this here, the queuing and impacts, there would be significant delays at certain intersections. And because of the queuing that would introduce by not having the left turn pockets, we are not recommending moving forward with this option. We also looked at, once again, because we know parking is valued on the corridor, and we looked at how we could have parking on one side of the street and introduce the bus lanes. This was made basically a no-go because we knew that we weren't going to expand the roadway. We're not going to take away space from the sidewalks or cut down the trees to make the road wider to accommodate a parking lane and a bus lane. And this, the parking lane here would not be wide enough, 7 feet. We need at least 8 feet. And as a result of it not being wide enough, this would lead to vehicles being like hitting each other, like the bus hitting the cars, like side swipes. However, with this option, we did have a left turn lane, but because there's only one travel lane in both directions, even with this left turn pocket, the queuing, there still was substantial queuing. So more than 1 mile of queuing in the eastbound direction and more than 2 miles of queuing in the westbound direction. So we did not recommend this option either, option 4, full-time parking on one side with the bus lanes. And then we looked at one other option, and that involved the weave. And this also was full-time bus lanes. So once again, we're looking at how we could have bus lanes that would operate all day long to sort of meet the need of bus riders along this corridor, and also have full-time parking and retain those left turn lanes. So this option really resulted in losing more than 120 parking spaces, but the major issue with this option was that each block, the lanes were not consistent, which could lead to more safety issues. And since safety was a goal, or is a goal of this project, we did not move forward with this option. And the next slide, you'll get a better sense of what I mean. So as you can see, where there's the red bus lanes, it's different, like those lanes shift, it's not consistent. So what you see, between 13th and 12th and like 12th and 11th and 10th and 11th, it's like different. The lane is shifting. And this could lead to potentially more collisions or crashes between vehicles, side swipes. There's like conflicts. So with the blue line, you see like conflicts with buses and trucks potentially, or buses and cars, or buses and parked cars, or cars and cars, because vehicles would be shifting and trying to get into their lane from intersection to intersection and from block to block. So because of the potential weaving concerns and the safety issues and operational concerns, we did not move forward with recommending option 5, but it was something that we considered to really meet that midday need. And this is my contact information. You can, this is up on the project website, my email, and the bus priority page. We are taking comments through October 29th, and the comment page is up on our website, so feel free to do that. You can call and leave us a voicemail, and we can call you back. If you have any questions tonight, please feel free to ask about the project. And thank you for allowing me to come to present.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate that. So I just wanted to recap a second in which you were talking about the redesign, and I'm looking at the PowerPoint. The existing conditions, right there. Well, that what you have up right there. Thank you. So really what you're doing, if I can just simplify this for me, is you're making the parking lanes wider to accommodate the buses, and you're keeping 2 lanes of traffic in each direction, and the parking lane would only be restricted like it is restricted now during an AM and PM peaks, from people accessing that area. Is that
right? Yeah, that's
right?
correct. So the parking lane, meaning like the lane that's closest to the curb, we would be reconverting that into a bus lane. And that bus lane would only be in operation during the peaks when people are already not permitted to park.
Got it. And how does, I mean, like with the, I'm just thinking about, you have a bus stopped at the corner, and somebody is making a right-hand turn in front of the bus. How does that work at other locations?
So right turn vehicles, according to our policy, are permitted to use the bus lane to make a right turn, and it's based on where it's signed. So based on the signage, it will tell the vehicle when they can enter the lane to make a right turn. But right turns are permitted to use the bus lane.
Got it. And I believe there's one location that's on H Street, a little farther down, like, I don't know, I can't remember the street, like 15th Street, 15th and 14th. There is a lane change in which the bus goes into lane 2 and the turn is in the curbside. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of confusing. I agree with you. Like when you were showing the directional changes of the lanes, and I'm wondering, did you consider that in here anywhere? In this area?
So what you're describing is offset bus lanes. The lanes west of 14th Street are one way, but we have 2-way traffic on H Street in this segment. We did consider putting in offset bus lanes in this option here, but it didn't work. And offset meaning that we would still have the parking lane, and then the bus lane would be right next to the parking lane. So we would have a parking lane right next to the curb, and then the bus lane would be one over from that. But this didn't work because we just didn't have the space for a wide enough bus lane, and also didn't work in terms of traffic operations because of not having a left turn pocket. So essentially you could be driving and then, you know, sitting several cycles through a light because you have 3 cars in front of you that are making a left turn and you can't get around them.
Got it. Yep. Okay. Commissioner Nelson, do you have questions or comments?
I had some questions for DDOT, but not about this particularly, so I can wait until Reginald asks his question.
Sure. Mr. Black.
I was hoping the commissioner would go before me, but so my concern is that one, with these options here, you say that there are going to be reductions in bus travel times, but I don't really see that. I think one of the things that has to be discussed in a general sense, which is not so much tied to this, but to how the buses operate in general. What adds to my ride through the area is when buses decide they just don't want to pick people up, right? And then my concern about the lanes in particular is that how would we look at these pinch points and the traffic? Because a lot of times I think we have those long queuing times and those long times where the bus is traveling under 6 miles an hour because of the existing queuing areas. You have areas like highlighted here where New York Avenue is. You have at least 4 lanes, going eastbound towards northeast, and then you also have that turn lane in which they're both right and left turns in there. So I'm trying to figure out with the bus lanes, with things like that. Also, there's another one closer to where Douglas Development and the Walmart is, where there's a significant turn for all traffic, including like the X2, and then there's a right turn for that bus. So what would happen to the traffic that needs that adjacent turn? I hear you're probably taking that away, or what's going to happen with that in the pinch point areas where you have to extend lanes? Because I see a lot of accidents happen like that when you keep reducing and extending lanes and they're not clearly marked.
Yeah, so for the pinch points, we're keeping it just as it is today, except for the curbside lane would be for the buses, to give buses priority. And so on H Street between North Capitol and 3rd Street, it would remain the 6 lanes. And then the same through the Gallery Place area, so from 6th to 9th Street. Vehicles would not be permitted to use that curbside lane, which would help speed up the buses, which is a goal of this project, is to improve the transit speeds and reliability of the bus for the riders. And in front, and this would go, I think you mentioned Walmart, this lane would go adjacent to or in front of the Walmart.
So I hear you're going to pinch traffic into basically 4 lanes there. And see, that's my concern, because I know a lot of people are still going to use the bus lane. So how do you look to enforce the bus lanes? Because the other piece of that is actually enforcing the bus lane. Because I see everything violate that lane. So just with the ones on I Street and the ones on K Street. So how do you look to enforce those lanes?
That's a good question. So we have been working closely with our enforcement partners at NPD and DPW for awareness so that there's staff on the street through TCOs like traffic control officers to help enforce our bus lanes. However, we know that our bus lanes in some areas, like on 14th Street, are in operation all the time, and we can't have a person on the street at all times. That's just not feasible. So this year we have DDOT has kicked off camera pilots. We kicked off a stationary camera pilot on Georgia Avenue at Berry Place near Howard University and Hospital. And that Potbelly there, we have 4 blocks of bus lanes, and we did a camera pilot there. We also did a bus-mounted camera pilot on our DC circulator on 2 routes, the Eastern Market to LaFont Plaza and the McPherson Square to Woodley Park route. And the purpose of the pilots it was just for research purposes only, for us to get a sense of what violations were happening on the corridors, how many violations, and to learn about the equipment, because this is new for the district. Not cameras, but bus enforcing violations from within bus lanes is new for the district. Automated enforcement for bus lanes. And
would you be able to share your findings with us?
We don't have any so I can communicate that to the person who's overseeing the program to see if the information will be how it will be shared. We plan to roll out our next year. We plan to roll out our bus camera enforcement program. So in 2022, and in the mayor's budget for FY22 includes money for stationary and bus mounted cameras. So we know that there's a lot of points along our bus corridors, like you mentioned, on I Street, on H Street, on all of them, on M Street, Georgia Avenue, 14th Street. We're also putting in bus lanes on 16th Street. That project is currently under construction. So we know that in order, for our bus lanes to operate efficiently, we do need enforcement. So there will be automated traffic enforcement on these corridors, either bus mounted or stationary cameras within the next year.
So, okay.
And I have 2 additional questions for you.
Sure.
If cars are allowed to use that bus lane to turn, won't they inhibit the buses from moving as they wait for pedestrians to cross the street?
Yeah, there could be slowdown as a result of if it's at an intersection where there are a lot of pedestrians crossing. But that's something that we've taken into consideration. And once the project is rolled out, we'll take a look at making improvements or specific tweaks if intersection is being slowed down as a result of right turning vehicles.
Got it. And my other question was, how much has WMATA been engaged in the development of this plan?
They've been really engaged. So we work really in close partnership with WMATA. They were with us from the beginning. They're supporting us. So in the Mayor Bowser's FY22, so her 2022 budget that we just kicked off this month, because our new year starts on October the 1st. There is funding for us to do improvements to bus improvements on 51 corridors in all 8 wards in the district. So we're working in close partnership with WMATA on those improvements. They've come out and walked the corridor with me just a couple weeks ago. We were identifying stops that we could potentially consolidate to help the buses to travel faster. So they are their bus planning and operations team have been strong partners with DDOT, and we've worked with them on a number of, or all of our projects. The other project that some of you may know me from is like the 16th Street project. I was the project manager for that, and they worked very closely with us on that project too.
Got it.
I had one additional question before you go, and that is related to your inquiry about WMATA, because I want to try to understand, how does their proposed route changes affect the bus lanes as well? I know the 80 extension is gone. So how are those affecting that? And then how many stops do you look to consolidate along the route?
So I know that the 42, 43 has been rerouted, and even with those numbers of reroutes, it's still like a really high ridership, like close to 30,000 riders on the H Street corridor. So there's still definitely a need to improve the bus speeds and reliability along the corridor. In terms of consolidating bus stops, we look at, for instance, one issue, and it might have been brought up at your ANC, is like that bus stop. There's 2 stops on the block near Gallery Place at 6th and 7th Streets, and potentially how we can consolidate that to one stop and have enough adequate waiting space and for bus riders and pedestrians to walk through that intersection with the limited sidewalk space. So it's looking at stops like that, or stops that may not have as much high ridership, and where we can consolidate the stops to really help the buses, speed up the buses so that it's not stopping as frequently.
Got it. And just as a question, and this has been a question that I always ask DDOT when I see these numbers, you indicate a 15% reduction in bus lane travel. What is your metrics with any project that you are attempting to implement? There's a cost benefit ratio that has to occur. And if I get 10 seconds off my bus route, is it worth the investment? What does that 15% equate to?
That's a fair question. It's probably a couple of minutes of bus travel time, and it does make a difference when you look collectively over the buses and how the buses can, and for riders collectively that are using it, based on what the feedback that we've gotten from riders and also from the industry. We'll definitely, that was like a question that was also asked, like what that 15% breaks down to exactly. It is a few minutes, but we can put more information up about that. And if you want to put that in, document your comment or question, and this goes for anything that was raised, feel free to do that. We are taking down your comments and questions, but if you wanted to write that down specifically and put it in our comment form, we can give you a response to that, provide a response.
That would be great. And I will definitely do that. And I think that one of the metrics that we would like to see as commissioners, and constituents have also expressed this, that after a project goes into place like this, whether it's a pilot program or we're looking to make tweaks to it, I think some kind of a report card back saying, hey, we were able to achieve this with this process is something that's very helpful for community and for the commissioners to understand. Because when we were talking about another project, we were talking about something very similar, which would have equated to like less than 30 seconds of time. And we were like, is it worth 30 seconds of time to eliminate, what was being eliminated by that? So I think that those metrics are really important, at least to me, as a commissioner, as we think about how we move forward and what is a best practice for the district. And I just want to focus on those kind of pieces as well.
That's fair. Yeah, we can definitely provide that. And I will say that, as I shared with the other options, we are really trying to push to meet the needs of this corridor, which would have involved having a bus lane that was in operation all day long. But and we would see more of a benefit if we could remove parking, midday parking along this corridor. However, we know that is a value that's been strongly suggested or voiced to us from the stakeholders along this corridor. but we could get more benefit for the buses and really be able to meet the needs if we were able to remove the midday parking. So when we talk about like trade-offs and benefits and, you know, getting that reduction, we could see even a far bigger reduction if we're able to make those hard changes like removal of parking. So it's like balancing a lot of different needs of the corridor in order to achieve the project. But that definitely has been a need and will likely continue to be a need, that midday need of buses traveling slowly.
Thank you. And I appreciate that balancing act and taking that into consideration. And, you know, and as we move through a time, I believe one of your slides said by a certain date, having 75% of the cars be 2032. Like, as we move to that stage, we may make these bus lanes permanent, right? As people start to transition. But I do believe that there is grave concern from businesses in the area that removing parking will inhibit their businesses.
I think Reggie has a couple more questions. Reginald?
Yes, definitely. So you were talking about the traffic lights, and I know the DDOT has had issues with lights all over the city. So you said that there were going to be lights that allow the bus to, I guess, preempt the green light. I don't understand. What does that mean?
Yes, so we do have transit signal priority all throughout the district. Specifically, I know on 16th Street, we have it at 34 different signals between Arkansas and H Street. So if the bus, there's a contraption on the bus that communicates with the contraption on the signal, just to sort of, and when the bus is running behind schedule, if the bus is coming, it can give the bus more green time so it can get through the intersection so that it's staying on schedule. And that is transit signal priority. And we have that on buses, on signals and on buses throughout the district. We also, but for this specific project, so that's one of the tools in our toolbox that we can use to improve bus speeds or bus reliability in the district. But for this specific corridor, we are introducing a queue jump at H and New Jersey westbound. And the queue jump is just a signal specifically for the buses. So the buses, if everybody's sitting at the intersection, all modes of traffic, all the cars, and everybody's at a red, the bus would get a green light. So it would be a signal for the bus. The bus would get the green light before any other legs of the intersection would get a green light. So the bus can move through the intersection first. If you want to go and check out something like that, you can go tonight to like 16th and U Street, 16th going northbound. There is a queue jump. The bus is sitting there at the intersection and it's there. It gets triggered and the bus can go through the light before the other modes of traffic. There's also one on Georgia. I don't know if it's Harvard, but I've seen it on Georgia Avenue. And I know for sure there's one at 16th and Irving going eastbound. So that's what we're planning to introduce on H Street as a queue jump.
So let me get this straight. So the bus can just go straight through.
When it gets the light, yeah, there's a light. It's a specific light for the bus. That's correct.
I got a major concern about that one because I think that some of the more aggressive drivers will also take advantage of the bus having that light. And I think if there isn't significant outreach done through Department of Motor Vehicles and other apparatuses, that community members are just going to assume that they can do it too. Because I see a lot of that going on in some of those areas. There are a lot of areas in which there's a pedestrian light that I witness folks just violate that all the time. One of our partner organizations, People for Fairness Coalition, does outreach, say out in Virginia Avenue. And that one is a pedestrian sort of like queuing light where pedestrians are able to get the right of way and cars are supposed to stop. And they don't even stop when that light is flashing. So I don't know, I don't know what the outreach strategy is going to be for drivers about a light like that. My only other thing is, another thing that concerns me about the bus lane. So when you're catching adjacent routes, say you're going from the X2 to the 70, or you're trying to get maybe the 64, or maybe you're trying to get the S4. Are there going to be queuing policies for the bus lanes for riders who are going to be trying to transfer to subsequent routes, or what's that conversation in connection with the bus lanes and how to alleviate some of the issues there with transfer to like north or south?
It shouldn't really impact the transfers. The bus stops, I get what you're saying. Like if you were going westbound and taking the X2 and you wanted to go north on Georgia Avenue, and you transfer at the Gallery Place Metro Station and hopped on the 70 or 79 to go northbound, this would not impact. Like what we're introducing would just get you to your stop faster, more reliably within the time constraints, but it doesn't have an impact on your ability to transfer to a different route.
So when you were studying that, you didn't take that into account, the intervals at which lines connect, or was that something that you considered?
Yeah, I mean, we are taking a look at the buses and the transfer points, and that's something that WMATA takes a look at, and they can make adjustments if necessary based on, once this is all in operation. But the bus lanes in and of themselves won't impede or negatively impact a rider's ability to transfer from one route to another.
Only reason I ask is because if you're going in one direction and have to go the adjacent direction, say you're going west and you're trying to go south, then you would have to get off, say like with the same example, 79, 70, and 74, you get off basically on the east side of the street of 8th Street, and then you'll have to take the diagonal up to the next bus stop. And I think that in a way creates some potential safety issues in terms of, okay, you have a light at some intersections where the bus can just go, but yet you have a large pedestrian sort of like flux there. There are certain streets within the commission that aren't necessarily like 7th and 8th Street, but they have foot traffic in a mug. One example would be actually 5th Street. That has a lot of foot traffic coming up and down there. So how do you think you're going to address like that?
I think we're going to have to leave it there for this evening. However,
if I could just ask mine, because it wasn't really about the bus routes, but I did want to get it in tonight because I had been communicating with Andrew DeFrank, who I understood was going to be here tonight, but I didn't see him on. So I didn't know if you, Spring, or your colleague Jamie, if she's able to unmute now, would be able to speak to some questions about the bike racks or widening sidewalks and things like that. But specifically the bike rack issue.
No, I don't think we can speak to that, but we can definitely take those issues back and report them and let Andrew know.
I had emailed him about all of it, and that's why he said he was going to come tonight to speak to it. So he's already aware of it.
Okay.
But okay, all right. That's all I had. Thanks, Michael.
Great. And I do want to say that this is an open comment period, Ms. Worth, through the end of the month for people to provide their comments to this plan. And the link was dropped into the chat box, and they have a nice little form there that you can fill out to make it easy for you to do that, and have provided multiple avenues for people to communicate and ask their questions. So please do that. This is very important for DDOT to get community information and get community feedback about projects. And we appreciate you being here and being receptive to the drilling that we put you through. And Jamie is probably glad she wasn't able to unmute through the process. But thank you very much. Do you have any last minute comments?
No, thanks so much for having me. Yes, just to reiterate what you said, please go in and submit your comments, and feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions. Thank you all.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Next, we wanted to, next on our agenda is planning, zoning, environment, and historic preservation. This is related to signage in Chinatown at 710 7th Street Northwest. This is where the Chipotle Mexican Grill will be moving to. Moving up the street, and I'm going to show a design here related to their signage. The signage on their establishment will be as across the top, you see the channel letters that emerge. That would be on top of the restaurant spanning the door. And then there would be the projecting sign as required in Chinatown with the name. They put their chili pepper in the center and the Chinese lettering representing the name of the restaurant. The letters are both equal in size and boldness as required by the plan. They are also going to be putting in a pickup sign inside where people can pick up their orders, showing them where they can pick up their mobile orders at. The signs do conform with the store's Chipotle's brand colors, etc. Commissioner Nelson, do you have any concerns or comments? This also did go through the Planning Commission's review as well. Just put that out there. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I did have a chance to review this, and I didn't have any questions.
Okay. Any community members, any concerns or questions?
Hey, this is Thomas.
Hey, Thomas.
Just was watching, and somebody might want to check the Chinese. It sounds like it translates to roast meat restaurant.
It translates to what?
Roast meat restaurant.
Roast meat restaurant.
Yeah.
We will have that definitely checked.
Okay.
It did go through the
the
Chinatown steering committee, and they did look at that lettering.
Okay.
But we can definitely put a comment on that.
Okay.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that very much.
Barbecue restaurants, what it sounds like it translates to. So just double check.
Barbecue restaurant. I initially thought you said something completely different, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's horrible."
What did you think I said?
I thought you said gross meat.
Oh no.
Roast
meat at barbecue restaurant.
I was like, "Oh my gosh, that would be awful if the designer actually put that in their signage." So. Right. But thank you for that look. I'd like to move that we send a letter of support for the signage noting the translation.
Second. All
in favor? Okay, 2 of 2 commissioners present voting in favor of. Our other lines, we have Alexander Rose Hinge. Is Alexander with us?
Hi there, good afternoon. Good evening.
Uh,
Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you just fine. I probably butchered your last name. I apologize.
It's totally okay. It's Rose Hennig, but no
Hennig.
worries. And I'm the head of school at Basis DC Public Charter School. We are one of only 2 schools in your ANC2C region, and we've been here for 10 years. The other school being Girls Global, which just opened recently. Is it all right with you, commissioners, if I share my screen?
You certainly may, please.
Okay, awesome. Let's see if I can get it to work. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that.
We can.
Okay, awesome. Hi guys, my name is Alex Rose Hennig. I am the head of school at Basis. We are a 5th through 12th grade school in Commissioner Nelson's single member district. And we're super happy to be here. We've been here for a decade now. And I wanted to come here today just to, verbally say hi, introduce myself, and make myself available to the community. I also wanted to open it up to anybody who had wanted to raise any concerns in terms of the school's use of public space around ANC Ward 2. Specifically because of COVID, we've had a kind of more extensive amount of our students hanging out or using public space in the single member district and in the ANC in general. And so I wanted to make myself available here today in case anybody had questions or concerns about what the school's been doing. We are the home of the Red Giants. That is our mascot. Instead of an animal or something cool like that, we decided to name ourselves after a bunch of dying stars in outer space, but hey, we burned the brightest. So we're a really awesome school. We serve about 650 students in grades 5 through 12, and we serve students from all over the city. We have about I don't know about in specifically this ANC single member district or these specific ANC2, but in Ward 2 in general, we serve about 70 families out of our total population of 650 students. So we have a good strong population of students, and I do know we have a decent population of students who live immediately in the Chinatown neighborhood, which is where we're located. As a school, just to give you guys some perspective, we're an open enrollment public school. It's not a private school. We are one of the top ranked schools in the city. We are the #1 open enrollment public high school in the city, according to USA News and World Reports. And we have some really, really amazing students. We do accept students, like I said, from really all over the city. And so one of the things that we've talked many, many years ago, though not recently, with this ANC about is transportation of our students through ANC2 to our location right downtown. But our student population themselves is a really, really amazing group of kids who go on to achieve some pretty spectacular results. And I neglected to put it on here, but actually just this last week, 2 weeks ago, we were announced as one of 3 National Blue Ribbon schools for this last school year here in Washington, D.C.
Great.
Yeah, so a great school, and what we do is we provide a traditionally rigorous, traditional liberal arts curriculum. So it is not a STEM school, it's not an art school, it's not a science school, it's just a liberal arts school. And we do provide our education with a focus on college and career readiness. And what that means is we're really getting our students ready to do one major thing, which is to get into the college and get through the college of their dreams. That's what we're all about. That's what we do all day, every day. That's the mission of our school. And we're pretty darn good at it. 100% of our students who've ever left our school have gotten into a 4-year university.
Wow.
We are, yes, thank you. Whoa, it's going backwards on me. We are one of the few 5-star and Tier 1 schools in DC. We exceed the DC average on pretty much any standardized test that you can look at. And we earn, not we, our students earn an average $150,000 per student in merit-based financial aid. So that's not need-based financial aid, that's students applying for scholarships and getting some good money to get to and through their university experiences. We really have a focus on getting students into whatever schools that they feel are right for them. Across our network of schools, which is 30 schools across the nation. Last year, we earned almost $80 million in that merit-based financial aid. And just a sampling of some of BASE's DCs. So just our kids' college acceptances from last year. Obviously, you don't need to read through them, but really spectacular list of universities. And importantly, it's not just Ivy League or top name universities. We really support our students going off to the college that's right for them, going off to schools in Europe, going to culinary arts academies, going to colleges of arts and design. We have a big contingent of students who love to head off to the Ringling School in Florida for computer animated design. And of course, a lot of local universities. So American, GW, Georgetown, Howard, and really whatever school is right for them. We are the bright orange building located next to the electricity substation, right next to the Archives Metro. So if you're orienting yourself in the ANC, we are a block north of that Archives Metro. I don't know if you can see it clearly on my screen. So here's Archives Metro. We're located right up the street from them, right by Teism, and we're that bright orange building that everybody passes and goes, I wonder what's in this building. Oh, it's a school, how weird. So what does that mean? Well, that's part of why I'm here to talk to you guys briefly today of the fact that we are very much a downtown school and the implications that has for our students within the community and for our location within the community as well. The students we serve, like I said, grades 5 through 12. And you're not going to be able to see the counts very well on this next slide because the text will be tiny. I'm sorry. I just didn't have time to make it larger. But we serve about 650 students and change every year. That's pretty stable enrollment for us. So we really haven't changed that much over the last 5 years. Our enrollment has gone up slightly by about 2%, which is maybe 3 or 4 kids for the last 2 years pretty steadily. And that just comes from as our program has matured, more and more students stay with us through that high school experience. As you can see, a lot of our students join us in 5th grade and stay with us all throughout middle school years before choosing to leave between grades 8 and 9. So most of our students stay for the 8 to 9 transition, but that is our biggest loss of student enrollment between the middle school years and those high school years. We have a very, very diverse student population. We are actually one of the top 10 most diverse schools, so total schools in the city. But if you looked at just our middle school or just our high school independently, usually they're in the top 5 of schools in terms of diversity. That is neighborhood diversity, special education, financial aid, needs support, in terms of racial and ethnic background. So each of our schools, if you look at comparator schools in the city, is actually usually one of the top 5 most diverse schools. We offer and importantly, all of our students in grades 8 and above are allowed off campus for lunch. And so this is important for the ANC because our students do put a lot of money back into the community as they go out and shop at local businesses and local restaurants before, after, and importantly during lunch during school days. We also utilize ANC resources for our recreation programs. Again, this is kind of an important one. We rent out different sporting venues, both here and in the ANC2F at Kennedy Rec Center, I think it's 2F, as well as utilize a lot of the parks and open spaces, and most importantly, the National Mall and the Sculpture Garden area for our students as they engage with the community. We offer a ton of different extracurriculars and athletic opportunities, some of which do mean that our students are out about in the community. One of my favorite examples is a club called Art in the City, where our art teacher takes the students down to the museums in the area, the portrait gallery up north of our school, or the art exhibits down closer to the National Mall. And so our students are really a part of this ANC. They interact with the businesses and localities here quite significantly, even during a normal year. However, this year, that has definitely been a point of contention for some local residents and businesses, which is why I wanted to make myself available here today in case anybody wanted to ask me questions. Specifically with sidewalk usage, park space, and COVID testing. I always joke, you can kind of see our building in the background. So this is the Archives Navy Memorial looking north towards the Portrait Gallery. And our building is the orange building right here, if you can see it, about halfway up the block. I always joke when I give tours that we will unfortunately never have a football team or a marching band unless somebody is going to donate $15 million an entire city block. And that's because we don't own any outdoor space in the region. Our building is a wonderful, old, very old building. We believe and have found articles that indicate that it was at one time a multi-story horse storage facility, which is just fun and interesting. Unfortunately, that means that it's not the most accommodating, perfect space for a school, especially because of COVID and because of the restrictions and guidelines that schools are required to follow, as you were just hearing about from the council member Pinto's office representative. That has meant that we've had to utilize additional outdoor public community space, including park space, sidewalks, and the National Mall. Most significantly, during our arrival and dismissal, we've made a really strong attempt this year to reduce our traffic burden in the region. We worked hard with DDOT back before we knew we were reopening to conduct some surveys about how many of our families would be switching from Metro, which normally about 60% of our families participate in, to driving. And we saw that there was almost a 20% increase in families interested in driving because of fears of sending their students during COVID on public transit. So we have done a bunch of engagement with our family community around encouraging them that public transit is safe. And we're definitely proud to see that a lot of our kids are biking and taking public transit. But because we did not want to cause a traffic burden in your neighborhood, we actually staggered our arrival. So now our students arrive in 2 different shifts, which reduces overall traffic flow at any given time and any traffic backup on 8th Street. But that has also meant that we do end up with some long lines of students waiting to get into our building. And I wanted to make myself available to explain that decision in case anybody here had questions about that. It has also meant that our parents desperately want us to take our kids outside for lunch. So we are trying to do that as much as we can, especially our unvaccinated students in 5th and 6th grade. that has meant that we've taken them down to the Navy Memorial, which we've had a long partnership with them, and a contract with the National Park Service to utilize their space on occasion, as well as to the National Mall. And I know that sometimes that has caused frustrations also with the residents in terms of using the green space that's there on the archive. If you're at the Navy Archive stop itself, there's a little tiny green park there, where our students, like to sit there and hang out when they're maybe in class or when they're on their free period during lunch. Again, we have a pretty amazing school that has some truly awesome results that speak really strongly for you as a community in ANC2, the families in ANC2 who do attend our school, but also just of DC residents. And we're really proud of our students and their outcomes. And we're super happy to be in right downtown in ANC2 in Commissioner Nelson's single member district, and wanted to just make myself available if there were questions or concerns that I could address them here publicly. I'm not sure I can manage the questions. I don't know how to turn off screen sharing. Oh, here it is. Okay,
there you got it. Terrific.
Okay.
Awesome. Commissioner Nelson, do you have any comments?
No, I don't. Thanks.
I just want to say thank you so very much for being here and for giving this presentation, because I don't believe that everyone in 2C knows that we have two schools that are located within the boundaries of our ANC. I have two constituents that have hands up. Mr. Black first, and then we have Thomas Lee +1. Mr. Black, are you able to come off mute? Okay, let's move over to the Lees, please.
Hey, thank you so much, Mr. Rose-Henning. My name is Holly Cranbeck. This is my husband, Thomas Lee. We live in the Clara Barton Lafayette, just 1 block from the school. And it's really funny because of the recent COVID measures, a lot of our neighbors have discovered that there's a school there. Mm-hmm. and for years, no one had noticed before. So we have 2 daughters. We send them to our local inbounds public school, Thompson Elementary. It's a wonderful school. And as you may know, we are inbounds for a middle school that is clear across town over near Georgetown. And then our inbounds high school is also clear across town and the other direction really far away. So as all in the call can imagine, it could be very frustrating to have to go to these schools 3 miles away when there is a wonderful school across the street from where we live. In 2017, Mayor Bowser had proposed a proximity preference for charters, whereby if you live right next to a public charter school that is closer than your inbounds elementary school, then you get a preference in the lottery. This means all the wonderful children in Ward 2, particularly in the Clara Barton, Lafayette, Landsberg, and all the other buildings nearby, this means we would have a chance to send our kids to this wonderful school. So I wanted to ask Mr. Rose-Henning and actually the others on the call, if there have been any updates on this 2017 proposal, because it would really mean a lot to a lot of families in the area to be able to have this option for our kids.
Definitely turn it over if there's other residents who have a similar question. I do know that the proximity preference was something that was passed and is an eligible portion of the lottery preference system. I put my email in the chat. If you would like BASIS to include a lottery preference, I'm certainly happy to consider that. To be 100% candid, the only reason we haven't is that the way that preference was originally communicated to schools was that it was for a certain type of school. So for a certain type of charter that was aiming to be kind of a neighborhood alternative inbound school. So candidly, I don't know whether or not we're allowed to select that particular preference in the lottery. However, if you shoot me an email, I will gladly look into it, because we would love to have more families from the local neighborhood come join our school. Just keep in mind, we do start in grade 5. And even with the proximity preference, our wait list is about 2,000 seats long. So it's still a little bit of a game of chance, unfortunately, like all charter school, my school DC system is madness, but like all of that is, it is still a little bit of a roll of the dice there. Of course, you can always put your name into the My School DC lottery. And the good thing is, if you do like your inbound school, even if it is not quite as close as you'd hope, you're guaranteed a spot there.
Thank you, Mr. Rose-Henning. We appreciate that very much.
Of course. And I think I can see hands now. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
And I see that our former commissioner, Kevin Wilsey, has his hand raised.
Hello. Thank you, Alexander. It's nice to meet you. Just so you know, I run the Landsberg across the street. And we love to have Basis School across the street. It's awesome. My only concern, as you can probably imagine, is traffic out there, because we also own the garage down below. Maybe we can possibly meet in the next 2 weeks just to kind of go over. I think you've done a good job recently kind of controlling some of the traffic out there. I know it's a little bit of a stretch with all the parents dropping the kids off, and it's a little crazy out there. And, there's people coming out of the garage. My only concern is the safety of the children. And, kids tend to get out there and just not pay attention. So maybe we could just talk about a few things that I sort of see when I come out of that garage, and how maybe we could both make it better for both of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to meet and chat. Shoot me an email.
I'm going to put my email in. You have your email in the chat? Okay. I will shoot you an email, and maybe we can get together. Okay. Yeah,
absolutely. And we actually just purchased, I think 30 spots in the Landsborough this year for our teachers
I know.
And staff.
Yes, thank you very much.
No problem. So hopefully that's a good partnership there.
Absolutely.
It sounds like a win-win.
Yes.
Definitely. And Suzanne.
Yes, I would just like to say thank you for the presentation. I had no idea how great this school was. I'm really impressed. I also had no idea how many kids you have going there. It's pretty impressive. Yeah, I do have one minor request. Right across from the school is where there are parking spots for 2 zip cars. And when it's drop-off time or pick-up time, if you have a zip car, it's almost impossible, because I think the parents don't know that those parking spots are reserved for zip cars. I noticed today that Zipcar was able to mark one spot a little more prominently, but the other one is on top of grates and kind of hard to get paint on a grate, I guess. So if there's any way, like in a school newsletter, if you could bring attention to the fact that they need to be mindful of that, that'd be really helpful, because it has just been a minor inconvenience fairly frequently if you've got a zip car during the day. But Absolutely. Great job you guys are doing there, and I appreciate the work you're doing.
Well, thank you so much, Suzanne. Can I ask a quick follow-up question?
Sure.
Is it that the parents are double parking and blocking the entrance, or they're themselves pulling into the zip car spot to wait? Got it.
That's it.
Okay.
That's exactly what they're doing.
I actually hadn't noticed that, because it's hard for us to tell what's a zip car and what's not. We're very careful about monitoring them double parking. And one of the UPS drivers tried to get in a physical fight with me because I told him he couldn't double park there during drop off and pickup time, because then the street's just absolute chaos if there's a huge truck in the middle.
Sure. No,
But,
they're actually taking the zip car spots.
Okay, I will follow up with that, and I'll have our traffic monitors keep an eye on it, and I'm happy to put that in the next newsletter.
Terrific. Thank you.
No worries.
Good work y'all are doing. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to commend you on the work and your reports, and that's truly amazing. Truly an amazing accomplishment to have 100% of your student body going to college. That's super.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for letting me come here and speak. And both my cell phone number with an extra digit, I don't know how that extra digit got on there, and my email address are in the chat, and I will repost them without the other random digits.
Mr. Black had a question that he was not able to ask. He put in the chat, he was asking about unstably housed students, and if there are any that are going to basis.
Yeah, we have a pretty fluctuating student population of students who are classified as protected under McKinney-Vento, which is the federal law that helps fund and protect homeless students in schools, and I think probably many other places. The answer is it's a little bit hard for us to distinguish our student homeless population from those who are unstably housed versus those who might meet other qualifications under McKinney-Vento. So students might also be considered homeless if, for example, they're doubled up. So if maybe they have a lot of family members all living in the same household, or if they are shelter-based. So we actually don't often get reports from the city about what type of unstable housing they live in. In terms of a specific number, it really does fluctuate from year to year. It's less than 10% of our school, and citywide, it's actually not a huge percentage of our student population is classified as homeless through and protected through McKinney-Vento. But it really depends. This year, I think we have basically under 5%, which means that I can't tell you a specific number because then it gets too close to being able to identify specific students, but not a huge number of students this year.
Great. Well, thank you so very much. We really appreciate you coming and providing your presentation to us, and would encourage you to come back anytime and make updates, and keep Commissioner Nelson definitely in the loop with what's going on. And we also have a grants program that we are launching that we would love to maybe work with you on activities for your students with that.
Yeah, anybody, please feel free to connect with me anytime, especially if it's funding. I'm always happy to work with that and get better programs for our students. And
we don't have 12 million for 15 million for a band, so maybe a trumpet. Well, thank you so very much. We appreciate that.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for your time, Commissioner.
Last on our agenda, we just wanted to announce the retirement of Gotley Simon, who was the executive director of the Office of ANCs. Mr. Simon took the role when ANCs were launched way back in the day, and has seen and mentored and coached countless commissioners across the district. Mr. Simon was asked to retire by DC Council earlier this month, and it was kind of a surprise to all of us. I know that there is a letter that did circulate regarding his departure and the vacancy that places in the office without appropriate transition. So I know I, for one, and I'm not sure if the other commissioners signed on to a letter to DC Council, really discussing our concerns about his departure and retirement from service. But he was a great help to me as I became a commissioner, and providing me with the tools that I needed to be effective in that work. Commissioner Nelson, do you have anything to add?
No, I think you said it all. Thanks.
Okay. Any last minute pieces of business? I think we may be on a record, and we're going to blame it on Commissioner Minsky for her taking our meetings and making them go long. But we are at 8:15, and I would like to move that we adjourn the meeting. Is there a second? Awesome.
Second.
All those in favor? Awesome. 2 of 2 commissioners voting. We'll see everybody on November 9th, if not before. Thank you all for attending this evening.